Hey, thanks for watching. It's PattyBlueHayes, and I have 7 reasons why I love living in Panama. So first, I just want to say thank you to everyone who is subscribed and to the new subscribers. It really helps more than you know. I'm trying to get that monetization on YouTube. Right now, I'm maybe averaging like $35 a month. So we'll see how that goes. So why I love living in Panama, obviously this is my experience. Everybody else's experience is going to be different. One, I really love that it's a small and diverse country. For some reason, I really like the fact that there's just one main road that goes through the whole country, connecting through the Darien Gap to the Costa Rican border. I don't know why. I just kind of like that idea. I like being in a small space. Maybe the United States was just feeling so vast, and I like the idea that you could get in your car and drive through the whole country if you wanted to. It'd be a very long drive, but you could do it. There's so much diversity as far as towns and cities. You know, you have this cosmopolitan city like Panama City, and then you have small mountain towns like where I live in El Valle, beautiful beach towns. We also have, 2 oceans. We've got the Pacific side, and the water is warm enough, to swim in. And then we have the Atlantic, the Caribbean side. Plenty of opportunities for snorkeling, water sports. Lots of people come to surf. There's a lot of fishing, diving. There are, spots to go scuba diving. And you can actually go from the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic side in a day, where the isthmus is narrow enough, like over by the canal. I mean, you can drive from Panama City over to Portobello, which is a beautiful, historic town on the Caribbean side, in just a few hours, depending on traffic, obviously, but you can do it. Oh, the climates being so varied. If you like heat, Panama City's hot, the beaches are hot. You want cooler weather, the mountains are cooler. So many waterfalls, rivers. I love the fact that you can swim in the waterfalls. A lot of the waterfalls where I was, maybe, in California, the water was always a little too cold for my liking to go in. But here I just absolutely love the refreshing quality of the waterfalls. There's preserved jungle, rainforest, national parks, and one of my favorite places has to be the Soundblast Islands. It is like you just feel like you've stepped back in time. It's completely run by the Gunayala Indigenous tribe. They don't allow motor boats. You can't do jet skiing and water skis. They don't even allow diving. But it just transports you back into another time. The sunsets there are amazing. The people are so warm. And I just love the fact that that's here. Two would be the location. It's close enough for me to go fly to visit my family on the east coast of the US, out of Panama City, which is 2.5 hours from El Valle. Usually now I've gotten in the habit of spending a night at the Rian's, the airport hotel, because I know from experience that anything can happen that could, block you from getting to the airport on time. Like a 5-hour flight, maybe, depending on the tailwind or headwind. I like that we are just below the hurricane belt. There will be remnants of hurricanes, like we will get extra rain or extra wind. We get wind anyway in the dry season, the trade winds, but obviously they're not hurricane force winds. So I like that there's no hurricanes here. There are mudslides, there are landslides, debris flows that will happen, and flooding. I guess, I mean, while they are unpredictable as well, and they're devastating, there's something about a hurricane that's just even more kind of unpredictable. We kind of have an idea of where, the flooding is going to occur. You have a river, it's going to overflow the banks. After seeing one of the natural disasters, I'm really impressed with how quickly the Panamanians come together and get rescue efforts in place. I was going to say the earthquakes, that there's no major earthquakes, and then I was looking online and saw that there are some major fault lines here. And in fact, in 1882, there was a 7.9 to maybe 8.3 magnitude earthquake. It took place in the Soundblast, damaged a lot of buildings in Cologne and in Panama City. So generally, though, I feel like the earthquake threat isn't as bad as it was when I lived in California. I was in the 94 Northridge quake. That was pretty traumatizing. Maybe I'm being naive, I don't know, but I feel like the earthquake threat isn't as severe here. We have had earthquakes, maybe like 5.3 points magnitude, but and I always get a little bit shaken literally shaken. I always get a little bit on high alert because of all the years that I lived in California. The climate to me is perfect where I live in the cooler mountain town. You can garden year round. The humidity is such that I barely have to use moisturizer on my face. It's just comfortable. I don't think I've worn socks since I was in Volcan. I needed socks in Volcan and actually heat in the car. So it was cold up there, and in Cerro Punta, I felt cold. But here in El Valle, I feel like it's a great climate for me. Some people really enjoy the heat of the beach areas. For me, I found just day to day, it was just kind of draining for me. So number 3, the Panamanian people and the indigenous population, and the fact that it's multicultural here in Panama. The Panamanian people, they are patient, kind, I think very resilient, there's a strength in the Panamanian people. I also feel like there's a playfulness and a readiness for fun. They really do enjoy the festivities and fiestas and parties and celebrating with family and friends and music and dancing. And I even feel like it's customary to greet, let's say you're going to a store and you're checking out, or a restaurant, and you say buenos dias, buenas tardes. And to me, sometimes I feel like there's a little secret smile, like there's a hidden saying that they're saying, buenos dias, do you know how special Panama is? And I say, buenos dias, yes, I know how special Panama is. So there's a friendliness. And I've experienced the patience, with my language in particular. And also when I've been, less than my highest self, and when I've been a grumpy gringa or felt frustrated and, let that out a little bit, which I, try not to do, but it happens. I'm human. As far as the indigenous, I just absolutely love that there are, I think, 7, maybe 9 indigenous tribes in Panama. There's something historically about that, and also for me personally, just kind of spiritually, I feel like there's a wealth of wisdom and knowledge and stories to learn from indigenous cultures, and to have that here and thriving, I think is really pretty unique. And the multicultural aspect, when Panama has been, invaded and overtaken by so many different cultures, the Spanish, so that we have the influence of Spain, and people have stayed behind, right? When I think the Chinese mostly came for, helping to build the canal. So there's a large Chinese population in Panama. The Africans that were brought over, sadly, in slavery conditions, but there's a thriving Afro-Caribbean culture in Panama. European, the influence from the United States with building the canal. Not all of these are perfect and ideal scenarios, but what has been left behind is multicultural, and I think for the most part very accepting of the diverse cultures that are here in Panama. 4, for me, there's no military, and the police are not militarized. In fact, just as I was getting ready to record this, a couple of police were riding on horseback down my street. I just think that is sweet and endearing. And, while they do have guns and they will use force and they will use tear gas, we have protests, there's some, civil unrest, but there isn't like a heightened, anxious, fearful feeling for me. Again, I want to clarify that I just feel like it's a very peaceful country. Also, just, with gun violence in general, there is gun violence here, of course, but obviously not to the degree and level that it was rising to in the U.S. I feel safe in a crowd. I don't feel like I'm going to get gunned down. Thank God there have not been, like school shootings here. I think those things, when they happen, they're traumatizing to families and communities, and thankfully that's not here. And so that kind of peaceful quality is something that I really, really appreciate. There's stability in the government here, in part to the connection with the United States. So it's nice to have that stability, but without having to live in the United States. 5, I would say that, now a lot of people would see this as a negative, and sometimes it is, but I actually like living in a developing country. So Panama isn't classified as a third world country. It's classified as a developing nation. And to me, that means growth and opportunity. I see the potential of, what could become. Are there frustrations? Absolutely. But overall, I don't know, I kind of like the possibility that lays ahead for the country. There's a lot less regulation except I think if you're starting a business and need to go through, all those hoops of permitting and getting applications and paying fees and getting people to, show up for inspections or licenses that you need. In general, just from my experience of remodeling the house, like I just feel like there's a lot less regulation, which equates to more personal freedom. Again, it has negatives and positives, but those are some of the positives that I like about it. 6 would be affordability. For me, I would not have been able to do this house project if it were in the US. I mean, maybe in like a remote small town, but I would not have been able to purchase a house and renovate it. And I'm really grateful for that opportunity and experience because it was just an incredible, creative, amazing experience to have. And then to be able to live in my home, have my garden, absolutely thrilled to have my little space under the stars. Because I am over 55, I get discounts, the Jubilado discounts, even though I'm not here on a Jubilado visa, I'm here on a Friendly Nations visa. Before they changed the requirements, I was lucky to get in on that visa when it was a lot less restrictive. So I get discounts on restaurants, hotels, movies. I think movies are like $3 maybe, or maybe even less. I get discounts on utilities. So my water bill is under $5 a month. My electric bill is generally less than $75 a month. I don't think it's ever been 75, except maybe when they were doing the construction and were running some equipment. My cell phone bill for unlimited data is like $40 a month. That's also with, I think, the Jubilado discount. Currently, I do not have health insurance. Sure, that's a risk, but a lot of people do that, and you can just pay as you go for things that you might need. I've been to the doctor, the eye doctor, the female doctor. There's clinics if you need, treatment for anything. If you cut yourself or have a sprain or a broken bone, you can go to public hospitals, which are much more affordable. There are private hospitals, which are affordable, but obviously, if you don't want to spend the money, you can go to a public hospital and get excellent treatment. I think that's the same doctors that treat in the public and private hospitals. And then number 7, I would say, is personal growth. There's a lot of personal growth that happens when you decide to move to a new country. So this isn't necessarily Panama specific, but I feel like, taking that risk, taking a chance, going through that process of adapting to a new country, learning things, learning a new language, all of that has been great for my personal growth and development. And as a life coach, I really appreciate opportunities for growth and development. Hopefully that was some helpful information for you. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And I will see you next time.